So I cover a lot of Ruby Amethyst on my channel, but I haven't really covered Sapphire Steel all that much. And this was actually a color combination that I played more casually in the first chapter because the whole new world Fishbone Quill interaction was actually really nice. But with the addition of Beast Tragic Hero and the Hiram Draw engine, this deck obviously has gained a lot of potential, and it is poised to be one of the best decks in the format for sure. And Bannable Harka did a good video on this, saying that it has the potential to be the best deck. RMB was one of the people who I think pioneered one of the more competitive builds, and obviously we saw the result of that with Haymaker putting up a second place finish, only losing to basically a bad hand in game 3. Not trying to take anything away from the Ruby Amethyst players, but you can see if you watch those matches just how effective this deck can be. It does take a very high level of skill to play this deck in order to make the correct decisions, and unfortunately making the incorrect decisions can be absolutely devastating with this deck and cause you to single-handedly lose games. But one of the nice things about this deck is that it can deal with a lot of the rogue decks in the format. Not really saying Mufasa is a rogue deck, but I think this Amber Emerald Mufasa deck is actually pretty good. So again, shoutouts to I think RMB and Theos, sorry if I mispronounced the name, for creating this. It's a pretty interesting deck, but it just kind of falls down against Steel a little bit, and you're seeing that right here. The Prince Eric outs the Simba, the Smash outs the Doc, and just playing on curve is so hard for them. Their evasive threats in the Tinkerbell and the Ray are answered by Smash, Tinkerbells and Grab Your Swords, etc. And so it's just hard for any aggro deck to compete against this, and you're seeing this deck pop up a lot more. But in certain matchups, it definitely can win. And where Ruby Amethyst might have a weakness against some of these aggro decks, Sapphire Steel would love to see them. So this deck is well poised in the meta because while it does have a tough matchup against Ruby Amethyst, in certain scenarios and piloted the right way, I think it can be a fairly even match. I think Ruby Amethyst is still slightly better than this. The reason why Ruby Amethyst is so good is because the skill level for that deck is actually a little bit less, in my opinion, and you can easily recover from mistakes and misplays or just alternative lines of play, which may be suboptimal, but it still works out for you because the deck is so versatile. And I've talked about this in other videos. What you can see with Sapphire Steel, though, and this is again what I talk about in my Ruby Sapphire Popsicle control videos as well, is that you need alternative draw engines in your deck for the Sapphire decks that rely on the Hiram draw engine. And Steel inherently has two new draw engine, or one new draw engine and one old one. A Whole New World is a fresh 7, and Beast Tragic Hero is a 1-card draw engine in and of itself. And so you can see me valuing not Whole New Worlding here and giving my aggro opponent the luxury of 7 new cards. Instead, I set up both of my other draw engines, and you're just going to see the result of this. The opponent is ahead in lore, but we've been able to deal with their board, set up our draw engine, and now we're going to start getting things online for our own questing potential here. And we have the removal for all of these little threats. While these evasives would normally pose a problem for something like Ruby Amethyst, for Sapphire Steel, it's a walk in the park because we have Smash, Tinkerbells, Grab Your Swords, etc. On the top end, you might think, well, Quantum, you said in the past, anything with Ruby is just better because they have better top end, and that's absolutely the case. The Lady Tremaines, the Maleficent Dragons, the Be Prepared are things you have to worry about. But again, with the proper draw engine of Sapphire Steel, you can extend a little bit into a Be Prepared. You can extend into Tremaines, and, well, I guess you really wouldn't extend into a Tremaine since you'd have multiple characters to choose from, but into a Maleficent Dragon, etc. Because you should always have enough in your hand to replenish your board and keep your opponent on responding to your threats, and therefore you're the one dictating the pace of the match, you're the one maintaining tempo. The one thing I will say is I've already posted a video about how Ruby Sapphire could potentially be a good contender against Sapphire Steel, and I do think that is the case because you still leverage the advantages of the Sapphire deck, same as Sapphire Steel, but you just have more removal. And while Ruby Amethyst beats Ruby Sapphire because Ruby Sapphire focuses so much on removal, and Ruby Amethyst can win the game outside of questing on board. They can use spell books, they can use ghosts, they can use bounce, etc. And that's where Ruby Sapphire falls down. Similarly, that's where this deck can fall down as well, Sapphire Steel. But in that matchup, I think it's a lot closer than Ruby Sapphire because you just put a lot more pressure on sooner, and that's what the steel package affords you to do over the ruby package. Ruby is more of an end game package. Again, that's why ruby amethyst is so strong, is because you have amethyst cards to generate advantage and deal with board presence early with all the Merlin Mim cards, and then your end game is just super strong with the best end game package in the game with the ruby cards, right? So I know I've kind of not really commentated over this gameplay, but I mean, the game was over by like turn 4, I think, when I completely decimated the opponent's dock play, and, you know, outed their Simba with the Prince Eric and then smashed the dock. And then you can just see the snowball effect here. It's like 20 cards to 1, and the match is just about to be over. So I just want to put that out there in terms of like a brief little meta analysis of the top decks. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, though, and if you would like to see me pilot more Sapphire Steel if you find this analysis useful. But thank you again for watching. If you made it this far, Quantum is out.